Hey, on this Face TV, I'll be checking out 10 boring babyface who became entertaining heels from Cultaholic Wrestling. Okay, let's go.
Themselves being showered with affection by the adoring masses when they think about pursuing a career in the grap game. How gutting it must be for them when they turn out to be a bunch of boring bastards. Of course, being a nondescript goody two-shoes doesn't mean a wrestler can't grow a pair, find some bite, and become so much more interesting as a heel. These lot prove that. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 boring babyfaces who became entertaining heels. Join us. Number 10, Cody Rhodes. These days, Cody Rhodes is not just a great babyface, he is the babyface, having established himself as one of the faces of WWE since returning to the company in 2022. But when the American Nightmare first showed up on WWE television in the summer of 2007, his entire personality was the son of Dusty Rhodes. Wearing generic trunks and boots and exhibiting little in the way of natural charisma, Cody was quickly moved from the singles division into a rookie veteran tag team with Hardcore Holly. Rhodes was a perfectly serviceable tag team wrestler and began displaying some good fire as the months wore on, but he wasn't showing anything else that would make you think he wasn't destined for a career in the mid-card. That all changed when he turned on Holly and joined Ted DiBiase Jr. and then Randy Orton in the Legacy stable. It was a clear step up for Cody, who proved to be even more entertaining after Legacy disbanded and he became dashing, followed by that whole Phantom of the Opera phase. As good as he is as a babyface now, it's going to be a seriously fun ride when Rhodes inevitably turns heel once again. Number 9, the Honky Tonk Man. When Vince McMahon saw Wayne Ferris dressed as Elvis and carrying a guitar to the ring, he saw dollar signs. And the Honky Tonk Man did draw big money as a despised heel who proclaimed himself the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. However, before he got there, McMahon thought Honky would generate revenue as a top-level babyface, no doubt picturing WWE's impressionable young fans begging their parents for money to buy a replica rhinestone jacket. In order to hammer home just what a big babyface he was intended to be, WWE had no less than the Junkyard Dog and Hulk Hogan endorse their great friend the Honky Tonk Man from the off. But fans were far from convinced and didn't want to shake, rattle and roll with the man from Memphis, Tennessee, even after the Hulkster tried to convince them that he also said his prayers and ate his vitamins. McMahon saw the subdued reaction that Ferris was getting and decided to change course by turning him heel, which included the Honky Tonk Man losing a vote of confidence that saw him go from good guy to cool, cocky and bad for the rest of his career. Number 8, Eddie Guerrero. It feels wrong to say that Eddie Guerrero was ever a boring wrestler, given Latino Heat's incredible charisma and unmatched in-ring ability, but when the second-generation star showed up in WCW in 1995, he was decidedly bland in comparison to the larger-than-life wrestlers populating Eric Bischoff's roster. Eddie could do it all between the ropes, sure, but he didn't really have a defined character, cutting promos about how he would always try his best and little more. His look was also very plain, and he had trouble really showing out during matches, angles, and segments. Guerrero was in danger of getting lost in the shuffle as WCW and wrestling in general changed due to the success of the New World Order. But after a 3-month absence due to injury, Eddie returned to WCW on the June 9th, 1997 edition of Nitro and turned heel. He was leaner, meaner, and displayed a level of confidence and charisma that was more in keeping with his days as a member of Los Gringos Locos and his work in New Japan as Black Tiger 2, and he never looked back. Number 7, Dominic Mysterio. As the legitimate biological son of Eddie Guerrero, Dominic Mysterio had some big shoes to fill. Not literally, Eddie was only, 5'8" tops? I doubt he would have worn bigger than a size 9. Okay, in all seriousness, Dominic really did have a lot to live up to in carrying the legendary Mysterio name. At the beginning of his WWE career, he was very much viewed as Ray's suspiciously tall kid, and though he showed steady improvement as a wrestler while teaming with his Hall of Famer father, Dominic ran the risk of joining the likes of David Flair and Curtis Axel as next-generation stars who weren't near the level of their famous dads. Everything changed though when when Dom turned heel on his pappy and joined the Judgment Day at Clash at the Castle 2022. He was instantly more intriguing as a performer and completely overhauled his character and look, leaning into the sleaziness of his Latino cheat persona. Daddy Dom has, in the past few years, went from a so-so babyface tag wrestler to one of the most despised villains in the business, and there's a sense that, still only in his late 20s, he has yet to hit his peak. Number 6, Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho broke into the business during an era where performers of his ilk were generally considered too small for mainstream American wrestling. The best option at that time was to globetrot and gain experience, which Jericho did during spells in Mexico, Japan, and ECW before being signed by WCW in 1996. Brought in during the company's cruiserweight revolution, Jericho portrayed a babyface so squeaky clean they may as well have nicknamed him Mr. Sheen. Honestly, Mr. Sheen would have been a better gimmick than the gimmick Jericho had, which boiled down to being a hand-slapping, fan-loving Lionheart who was going to try his darndest for you, the fans. It just sucked, and Jericho knew it sucked, retrospectively admitting he was miscast in the role. When Y2J turned heel and went from mild-mannered do-gooder, he once refused to accept a count-out victory over fellow babyface Alex Wright, which everyone and Buff Bagwell's mother could see was a lame way for any wrestler to act, to egomaniacal wrongdoer, things truly took off for him, and by the time he decided to leave WCW for WWE, he was one of the most entertaining acts on TV. Number 5, Ricochet. There are few wrestlers in the history of the industry quite as impressive as Ricochet. Seemingly able to do absolutely anything athletically, it really is incredible to watch the high-flying performers' feats like the 630 and the space-flying Tiger Drop with apparent ease. Ricochet's risk-taking style has won him fans and admirers, no doubt, and the King of Flight was good value for runs as WWE Intercontinental, United States, and NXT North American Champion. But for all of his awe-inspiring athleticism, there has always been a sense with Ricochet that his talent when it came to the physical side of performing was let down by his lack of mic skills and poor character development. That has changed since leaving WWE for AEW, where initially it was feared that his bland babyface ways would result in him blending in amongst a sea of fantastic wrestlers. Thankfully, that hasn't been the case, as Ricochet's heel turn, which was a gradual process, has allowed him to show a side of himself that was previously unseen since he's been given a license to do and say things he wasn't able or allowed to before. Good for him, the bald scissor-wielding nutter. Number 4, the Sandman. The Sandman became iconic as ECW's beloved beer-drinking, cigarette-smoking, cane-swinging mascot whose entrance was often the highlight of the entire show. Before he found the ciggies and cans, however, James Fullington was struggling with a very different persona. Back when ECW still stood for Eastern Championship Wrestling, the Sandman was a full-on California surfer dude who wrestled in a wetsuit and came to the ring carrying his board. Instead of Metallica's Enter Sandman, he had the friggin' Beach Boys play him down the aisle. Instead of drunkenly rambling and looking all cool, he donned shades and cut some of the corniest promos you have ever heard. While it's regrettable that Sandman had to develop more of an edge via a storyline where he mistreated his manager and real-life wife, Laurie Fullington, aka Peaches, this saga did at least result in a heel turn that led to him becoming a better and more interesting character. After ditching the missus, Sandman adopted Woman as his second and changed up his look and attitude, stopping by a convenience store for a six-pack and some Marlboros on his way to the ECW arena. Number 3, John Cena. When John Cena meandered onto the scene in 2002, things initially looked very promising for the ruthlessly aggressive rookie as he got to wrestle and interact with the likes of Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, and The Undertaker in his first few weeks. WWE lost interest in pushing Cena as quickly as the fans lost interest in watching John Cena, however, despite him trying to curry favour by investing in untold pairs of tights and boots to match the local sports team in any city he wrestled in. Because honestly, that really was the extent of babyface John Cena's character development, along with being ruthlessly aggressive, of course. Cena just wasn't connecting and was reportedly on the chopping block when some tour bus freestyling during an overseas tour changed his fortunes. Soon after, he ditched the spandex for a pair of jorts, began spitting sick bars, and turned heel as the very entertaining Doctor of Thugonomics, setting him on a course for an inevitable babyface turn and main event superstardom. Number 2, Owen Hart. There wasn't much, if anything, that Owen Hart couldn't do in the ring, and having wrestled in Canada, Germany, Japan, and Mexico, the Rocket was at the forefront of a new generation of stars who wowed wowed audiences with their high-octane hybrid style. As enjoyable as it may have been watching Owen in early 90s WWE, it was evident that the creative minds didn't have much faith in Hart beyond putting him in lower-card babyface tag teams with Jim Neidhart and Coco Beware. After taking some time off to heal a knee injury, Owen returned and received something of a singles push before aligning himself with older brother Brett. Simmering tension between the siblings continued to bubble, however, until Owen turned on Brett by kicking his leg out of his leg at the 1994 Royal Rumble pay-per-view. It did wonders for him, as being a baddie allowed Owen to cut promos and showcase a level of charisma that had been sorely lacking to that point. The rest of 1994 would prove to be a banner year for Hart, who won the King of the Ring and then feuded with the Hitman over the world title while doing some of the best work of his career. Number 1, The Rock. Dwayne Johnson had everything WWE could want in a main event babyface when he made his in-ring debut at the 1996 Survivor Series. Well, everything WWE could want in a main event babyface if it was 1986 or 1976 anyway. Because the tall, muscular, good-looking, fiery babyface whose smile needed to be surgically removed from his face was very much considered old hat right at a time where the Attitude Era was truly about to take off. Rocky Maivia may have been a blue chipper loaded with potential, but he was predictable and colourless, his entire personality being boiled down to athletic third-generation wrestler who sure does like to smile an awful lot, doesn't he? It was far from compelling, especially compared to more complex characters like Steve Austin, Bret Hart and Mankind, and the fans soon turned on the Intercontinental Champion, chanting "Die Rocky Die" as Dwayne tried to smile through the pain. After coming back from a knee injury, Rocky Maivia became The Rock, turning his back on the fans and ditching the white meat babyface act while turning into a cool and charismatic bad guy destined for greatness. And you know what I think about it? Well, it doesn't matter what I think, does it?
Yeah, good video by Cody Rhodes Wrestling. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, see all next video. Peace.